Hey everybody, welcome to this first lesson on Adobe After Effects. I'm really excited about this lesson. I'm really excited about Adobe After Effects. It's one of my favorite pieces of software. I just wanted to take a minute to talk about really what Adobe After Effects is and how it works and basically how it fits in between all the other software in the Adobe platform. Now, Adobe After Effects is designed to do a couple of things. It's designed for motion graphics, things moving around the screen, visual effects, lightsabers and explosions and all those good things, as well as animation, making things walk or making cartoons move around and stuff. But more than that, After Effects is considered a compositing software. Now, what is compositing? Well, it's kind of like collage building. We're going to take layers and put layers on top of other layers of video, layers of graphics, until we make some kind of great collage. Maybe some of you had made a collage when you were in grade school, put layers on top of other layers and built stuff. Well, this is kind of like advanced collage building because we're going to add in animation and visual effects and 3D and all kinds of other good stuff on top of our collage. Now, the question will be, why do you use After Effects? Well, for a lot of software out there, say for example Premiere is basically designed to handle a number of things. It handles in sequencing, putting clips in a row, as well as doing some basic animation, maybe some title movements, etc., as well as some audio controls. So Premiere is kind of doing a lot of things, and I often consider Premiere like a department store, right? It has many different departments in it. If you go to the mall and you go to a department store, you can get clothes, you can get bed sheets, sometimes they have an automotive department. Well, your automotive department is great at the store if you want to get an oil change, but sometimes you want to go to a specialist. If you need something more important for your car, more than an oil change, maybe you don't go to that big department store. Maybe you go to an auto specialist who can handle, I don't know, giving you a new engine or something. Well, if you really want to do visual effects or some kind of animation or graphics or whatever it may be, you can do a lot of that stuff in Premiere, and you can do a lot of that stuff in other video editing software that we'll look at in other lessons. But if you really want to be special, maybe you want to go and you say, hey, I've done enough that I can do in Premiere or whatever editing system I'm in. Now I want to go in to After Effects and really do my visual effects because it's really designed to do a lot of cool special effects kind of stuff and a lot of animation kind of stuff and a lot of moving graphics in there that I could probably do in Premiere, but it would be much easier to do in After Effects. And this is why I love After Effects, because you can explore a whole bunch of new things that your basic video editing system just would take a lot longer to handle. Maybe it could do it, but it would be really more challenging than it needs to be. This is the time to go to the specialist, which is After Effects. And I think for a lot of people who are editors, it's a good thing to get your hands on After Effects because it kind of puts you a little bit above other editors because you know how to do those special effects kind of things quicker that may be necessary for your job. So it kind of is an extra, thing in your resume that you can put in there and says, hey, I really know what I'm doing and I can do everything you ask of me. Anyway, so we're going to look at this idea of building these collages, these compositions as they're called, inside of After Effects. So let's open this up and see what we got out of this. And you're going to see here that this will open up relatively quickly because I've opened it once before. And this will open up to the default interface for Adobe After Effects. Now, when Adobe After Effects first opens up, it brings up this welcome screen that asks you if you want to make a new project here, or you want to open a project, or you can even click here and learn stuff, or open up recent projects. Me, personally, I find that this welcome screen is kind of in the way. I don't know why. I'm just kind of a person who treats it like a, one of those department store door greeters. I'm just like, yeah, get out of my way. I don't need you. So I'm going to quickly say, forget about this. And I'm going to close this, hit the little red X in the corner. And then I'm going to go right into here into the regular interface for Adobe After Effects. If you're familiar with Adobe software, Adobe has kind of streamlined their software to kind of all look similar. There's a set of tools, the top row here. There's a project window here, a panel, as it's sometimes called, or there. And some of the panels will be separated by tabs. So there's like a project panel, and then tab over, and there's a effects controls panel. There's a composition panel. This is the main place where we'll be working, where we'll be building compositions. There's something over here. This is a layer panel, that's there. And there's a bunch of other panels here like so. Now, this layout that I have here right now is called Standard. This is Standard View. You can see up here in the top corner, there's a workspace up here called Standard. And there's three little buttons next to Standard that'll show you the standard workspace as it is. And so here in Standard, you can kind of look here and see this layout here. Now, if you're familiar with Adobe software, you know you can redesign your whole workspace however you wanted to. So if you didn't want the timeline panel down here, you want it up here, you could click and drag and throw it up here, which would be weird to do. I wouldn't do that. Maybe put it up here, I don't know, here maybe. Ooh, that's awkward, that's odd. And then I could close a panel if I didn't want to see it or something. Close these panels. I could open up a new window or new tool, go to Windows and bring up my Lumetri scopes or something, and then have this panel over here. And then if you had multiple screens, you could actually click these little triangles here and go to undock a panel, and then you can have a floating panel, and then have all this big mess, and then you could have it on another screen. If you had like the Matrix with 6 screens going on, you could have all this stuff going on. You get a little crazy here. If you find yourself doing this, if you find yourself dragging stuff over and putting it in different places and making a big mess and all this kind of stuff, you do it if you want to do it. I mean, you can put stuff however you want to put it and move it all to different screens. But if you find yourself, oh, I really messed up and I did something horrible, what you can do is you can go back to standard, and next to these 3 little pull down there's an option for reset to saved layout. So even if for some reason you're working and you just accidentally close this window, you're like, oh, what did I do? I lost this window. Well, if you wanted to, it's here. It's Windows timeline. And you could bring up the timeline back again and have it there. But if for some reason you're like, oh, I don't remember how to do that, or something got messed up, or I don't remember how it was, how was Chad working on this? Again, just go to standard, reset to saved layout, and we're back here to save layout. You'll see there's some other layouts. There's a learn workspace, there's a review workspace, and this little triangle here gives you some other things. So if you were specifically working with, I don't know, painting on things, you could go to the paint layout. Or if you were working on the essential graphics layout, you could do the essential graphics layout, which is just a little bit different. So, but again, we're going to be working here in what's called standard view, and I kind of like standard view, how it's laid out now. This is the new version of Adobe as of 2022, as of summer of 2022. So we're going to work in here. Now, like I said, we have multiple different panels or multiple different windows, if you will, but we're going to work in 3 windows today. We're going to work in this project window, the composition window, and this window down here called the timeline window. And so up here we have the project, the composition, and the timeline, and we're going to work in order. We're going to start with the project window. Now, the project window up here is where you're going to bring stuff in. You're going to bring in different assets, great word, that we want to use. These are different files or video clips or audio clips or whatever it may be, graphic clips, photos, etc. Bring in all kinds of stuff. So we're going to start here, and we can go to File, and go to File, and go to Import, and you'll see File, Import, File, which is simple enough. File, Import, File. And we're going to import file, which will bring up our window there, and we can navigate to a certain place. I'm going to go to my SSD drive, and I have a folder here called AFX class, and then L1 workflow. So this is my first class here. And so inside of here, I have some different things I want to bring in. So I'm going to choose one of these. I'm going to choose this NYC Aerial 13N6113-29. This is a QuickTime movie. And you're going to say open, and it's going to open this up and put this in here. Now up here in the corner, it's going to put a little picture icon, a PyCon if you will. It'll say that this is New York City Aerial 13N6113.29. It tells me up here that it's 1920 by 1080. So it is 1920 by 1080 inside of this window. And so 1920 by 1080, if you're familiar with video resolutions, this is full HD or standard HD resolution. It is 1920 by 1080. Below this, it tells me the time code of this. And the time code is a running list of time that's on this. It tells me it is 0, semicolon 00, semicolon 00, or semicolon 12, 12, moving at 29.97. That's 30 frames per second drop frame. If you don't understand all this stuff, we can talk a little bit about this later on in some other class, some ideas of video fundamentals. But this is 12 seconds and 12 frames at 30 frames a second. So this is roughly about 12 and a half seconds at 30 frames a second. It's using millions of colors, and it's using the Photo JPEG compression scheme. And so we have this video here. Now, this says New York City Aerial here. If you double click on this, this will open up a separate window. So if you double click on the icon, it'll open up a separate window called the footage window. And within the footage window, you have a little blue bar at the bottom that you can drag through and watch this footage. You can also hit the space bar and play this. And there's also play control down here that you could play forward and play this here. And so you have those controls inside of there that you can preview, etc. And so you have these basic functions there, like so. And so this is the footage panel. Be careful of this sometimes, because sometimes people will open up a footage panel and forget where they are. So if you are looking at the composition, I know this sounds silly, but if you are looking at the composition and you do double click, you can open up the footage panel and be like, oh my God, what happened to my composition? It's here. You just open up another window. Same thing with the layer window. We'll talk about that a little bit later. But you have this here. Now, if you notice, there's an icon, a shortcut for this. I love shortcuts, File, Import, and there's Command I. I'm on a Mac, so I'm going to be saying Command, but if you are working on a PC, Adobe After Effects does work on PC, but some things are a little bit different. So anytime I say the word Command, I probably mean Control if I was working on a PC. So here, I'm going to go here and say Command I, and I'm going to import something else. And we're going to import this USA map. And so this USA map is a TIFF file. This is the tag image file format. And this is USA map 1480 by 960. So it's a little bit smaller than full HD. I just got it off the internet, so it was a little bit smaller. I didn't really decide what size it was. Whoever made this, thank you. But you know, he made something that was a little smaller than HD. So again, this one, click here, is 1920 by 1080. This one here, 1480 by 960. And that's the horizontal number of pixels by the vertical number of pixels. You know the stuff. This is video. Notice there's no time code on this. Why? Well, because it's still a picture, right? There is no time. There is no, if I double click this USA map, I can bring this up and see this. And look, there's no time to drag across. Why? Because I can make it however long I want it to be. It's just a still picture. There it is. So we're just going to leave that alone here. Again, we'll close the footage panel again and have it here. Now, here's the trick. I know some of you might know this already, but I worked on After Effects for a long time. I was working for a couple years, and then I saw somebody do something, and I was like, what did you just do? And they're like, oh, yeah, you just double click. And I was like, what? And no one told me this, and no one ever mentioned this. So forget File, Import, File, forget Command I. If you go here into the gray space and you just double click, it opens up the import window. Like, that works. Here's the crazy thing. That works in Premiere. That works in Photoshop. I assume that works in Illustrator. It works in all the Adobe programs. Just go into the gray space here of where the project workspace is and double click, and it opens that up. Now, I'm sure some of you knew that already, but man, when I found that out, I was like, why have I been doing File, Import, File for all this time? So I'm going to be bringing in different stuff here, and I'm going to bring in this snowstorm title. And so when I bring in the snowstorm title here, it brings up and it asks me a question. It says, hey, this item has an unlabeled alpha channel. Well, what the heck does that mean? What does an unlabeled alpha channel mean? Well, an unlabeled alpha channel is an alpha channel that is unlabeled. I know, that's the easy answer. What is an alpha channel? Well, let's talk about this. Let's cancel out of here and let's talk about an alpha channel. We're going to switch gears for a little bit. We're going to talk about an alpha channel. So I'm going to go here, back to my desktop here. Or actually, I'm just going to open this Finder window here. And here I have this picture of this giraffe. And this picture of this giraffe looks like this. It's a giraffe in front of a blue background with some clouds behind it. It's an adorable, adorable giraffe. Here he is. He looks great. He's fantastic. And this giraffe is a JPEG. The Joint Photographers Experts Group designed this format, the JPEG format. You know, you've taken JPEGs with your camera or your phone before, and JPEG is a standard format. So if you go and look for a giraffe on the internet, you're probably going to find a picture of a giraffe that is a JPEG, and that's perfectly fine. What happens is when I bring this giraffe in, this giraffe comes in with the giraffe and the blue sky and the white clouds and the background and everything else included in here. So if I were to do this, if I were to double click in here and go in, bring in this giraffe, and say open, this giraffe is going to come in here as a JPEG. And for later on, when I'm compositing, that is putting layers on top of each other, I'll do this really quickly, this giraffe will come in here, and this giraffe will be superimposed on top of here, completely covering over New York City, because he's also 1920 by 1080, which is great. But I want the giraffe to come in as a cutout. I want him to come in with the background kind of gotten rid of. So let's delete this for a second. I'm just going to delete that for a second. And we're going to go here into Photoshop. And I'll just show you an idea. So I'm going to go here to this folder here. And I'm going to take this giraffe. This is in, let's see, Chat SSD, AFX class, L1 workflow. And I'm going to take this giraffe. I'm going to right click and I'm going to open with Adobe Photoshop. And this is going to open this in Adobe Photoshop. Now, this is not an Adobe Photoshop class, but I will go into Adobe Photoshop really quickly just to show you some basic things. So one of the nice things I can do is I can grab this giraffe and say, hey, I want this giraffe. And I might use a quick selection tool and grab in selections of this giraffe, which would be a perfectly fine way to do this. But what I also like is I like in this new function in Adobe Photoshop 2022, select subject. This is really smart. This is part of Adobe Sensei's artificial intelligence to be like, hey, I know what you're looking for. You're not looking for the cloud. You're not looking for the sky. You're looking for the giraffe. So it starts thinking, and man, look at that. It cut out the giraffe. Just kind of perfect. Almost perfect. I mean, mostly perfect. Little missed a hair there, but I like it. It mainly cut a giraffe really well. So it's put a selection around this giraffe. Now, I may want to clean this up a little bit. And just for a quick thing, I may go in here in the Select and Mask button. And in the Select and Mask button, I may choose to select a mask and see how my giraffe looks. He looks pretty good. I might feather him a little bit, maybe a little bit of feather, like a 1.8 pixel feather, a little soft edge there, just to soften this out a little bit. I might smooth some of this edge a little bit, clean this up, and I might say, okay, I think I'm okay with a little bit of, yeah, we're gonna be okay there, and we're gonna say, this is my giraffe cutout. So I have a selection around the giraffe. You can see the little dotted line around the giraffe that says, this is selected around the giraffe. This is great. Well, this giraffe consists of channels. And what our channels are what are called color channels. And it consists of a bunch of colors. So the sky is mostly blue. The fur here is mostly red, we're going to assume. The cloud, which is white, is an equal combination of red, green, and blue. And if you know your color channels, you have red, green, and blue. And these are the color channels that make up every single pixel in this image. So every single pixel here is a combination of some combination of red, green, and blue, there like so. And you can see this in the section over here of Photoshop called channels, RGB, the red, green, and blue channels. Well, here's the truth. There's a fourth channel, and that fourth channel is called alpha. And so in the fourth channel, in alpha, you can go here, and if you select something, so if you make this little dotted line, either using the quick selection or using the magic wand or using this wonderful select subject control, you can go here and you can say, down this little tiny button down here that says save selection as channel. And what it does is it makes a channel. And so when it makes a channel, it makes this channel here called alpha. And I'm going to show this alpha channel to you for a second. It makes this little black and white pattern. Actually, it's black and white and a little bit of gray here for where the feathering edge here is. So what it says here, it says, hey, this channel right here is a cookie cutter. And the parts that are white, we'll keep. And the parts that are black, we'll make transparent. And this alpha channel, this little piece of information, this little piece of metadata that gets buried inside the image that says, hey, keep this part, eliminate this part. So when this goes into another program, like Adobe After Effects, it's going to come in with part of it being visible and part of it being invisible, even though it's here. Now, here's the truth. Giraffe.jpg, JPEGs, the JPEG format that you love, is great. It's wonderful. It doesn't support alpha. So that's a problem. So what we want to do here is we want to save this as something else. So we're going to file and we're going to choose save a copy. We're going to save a copy here. That's the way Adobe wants to do it now. And we're going to save this as something like a TIFF file. The tag image file format I like. It's there. You could also save it as a PNG. PNGs are a little bit smaller, but they work. There's some other formats. The Photoshop format I like, but they usually sometimes make big files. But we're going to use the TIFF format, and we're going to save the alpha channel information. When we hit save, we save this here. We're going to make giraffe copy, and we're going to save giraffe copy. It's going to ask us some questions. Do we want to have some compression? No, 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 no. We're going to say okay to this and leave this like there. So let's go back into Adobe After Effects here, and we're looking at Adobe After Effects. And now we're going to bring in this other giraffe. So we bring in this other giraffe here. Giraffe copy, we bring in giraffe copy. Here's giraffe copy. When we bring in giraffe copy, it's going to ask us a question. It's going to say, hey, this item has an unlabeled alpha channel. Do you want to ignore the alpha channel and just bring it in with the full image? Well, no, we've already brought that in a JPEG. Or do you want to use straight or pre-multiplied alpha? Whew, that's some big, heavy stuff right there. Straight or pre-multiplied alpha. Just a second ago, we were learning what alpha was. Now we have to learn that there are two different types of alpha. Well, there are. There are two different types of alpha. There's good old-fashioned straight alpha, and most of Adobe uses straight alpha by default. Or you can use something called pre-multiplied alpha. Or if you just want to sound smart, next time you're at a dinner conversation, bring up the words pre-multiplied alpha. Sound impressive. Sound like, man, I was just working with some pre-multiplied alpha the other day. Maybe someone will love you for it. But we're going to use a straight alpha. Or here's the truth. We could choose either one of these, but we don't have to because Adobe has made a wonderful program called Guess. Yes, Guess. Adobe After Effects is smarter than you are. It's going to guess for you. So if you choose pre-multiplied, it's going to be like, no, dummy. Boom, straight alpha. I already know that it's straight alpha. 9 times out of 10, this gets this right. I haven't seen it fail yet. So we're going to choose straight alpha, and we're going to bring this in here. At some other point, we'll talk about the differences between straight and pre-multiplied alpha. But for now, don't worry about it. We're going to stick with straight alpha. And now, when I bring this in, and I bring in a make composition, this giraffe will now superimpose on top of this. So now it's this giraffe here over New York City. And so we have that functionality. So that's kind of cool. So again, if we bring something in, like snowstorm title, it may ask us, hey, are we using straight or pre-multiplied alpha? Here's the truth. It doesn't matter. This thing will guess for you. And you just say guess. This is, oh, this is using pre-multiplied alpha. Sometimes you'll see, I'll show you really quickly, if you're working with something that's using, for example, if you look at this, if you look at this giraffe here with this nearest to the aerial here, you'll see if I switch this is using straight alpha right now. I can actually right click and interpret footage main and switch this to pre-multiplied alpha. And you'll see a little halo that'll happen around the edge of the giraffe. So here's straight alpha, looks like this, and here's pre-multiplied alpha. There's a little bit of halo there, but it's not really, that's just the feathering. And then here, it just changes a little bit. If I zoom in here a little bit closer, hold on. Let me just zoom in a little bit closer, I'll show you. We'll go through all the stuff here. So here, if I look at the edge here, if I switch this, interpret footage main, you can switch this from straight to pre-multiplied. You'll see the white edging there that happens? That's because you're using the wrong alpha. So make sure you're using straight in this case, since we made this in Photoshop, or choose whatever. So you'll get some different alpha depending on which one you're using. Other thing, if you're going on the internet and you're looking for something, so if you're going on to the internet and you decide to look for a picture of a dog, well, if you look for a dog and you say dog, you're going to find a picture of a dog and you're going to find a whole bunch of JPEGs of dog. Now, if you look, you can also look for something more specific. You can look for dog PNG. This is a portable network graphic. Dog PNGs will sometimes find someone else had made a dog and cut out an alpha channel. And you can tell this by when you hover over it. So we clicked on this dog here, and it put this little checkerboard behind it. And that tells me, you know what? This probably has an alpha channel. Google Chrome, for example, does this thing where when you look for images, you can tell, now this one just has white behind it. There's no alpha channel. This one, wait for it, checkerboard. This one, somebody already did a job of going into Photoshop and cutting this out to put on the internet. So you could probably look at this one and have it here. Let's see, this one, again, already cut out. Oh, these great dog pictures. This one's already cut out. Here's the other thing I'd be careful of though. When you see stuff like this, where it already has a checkerboard pattern here, notice that we had to click on this first, and then the checkerboard pattern showed up. This one, we don't know. Does this one have an alpha channel? It says it's a PNG. Let's see, we click on it. No, see, it doesn't have any checkerboard behind it. Let's see this one. Click on it. No. But this one, yes, there's a checkerboard pattern behind it. This one, well, the checkerboard pattern is already here. Why would it be here if it was going to have the checkerboard pattern behind it when I click on it? Here's my advice. I tend to find stuff like this and this and this is not something that has a real alpha channel. Sometimes people put, here's the truth, I'll tell you a secret. Sometimes people lie on the internet. I know, it's crazy, right? Sometimes people lie about who they are on the internet. So if I see a checkerboard pattern already here before I've clicked on it, this one I clicked on it first and then I saw the checkerboard pattern, but I didn't see it when I didn't click on it. This one I clicked on, I saw the checkerboard pattern after I clicked on it. If the checkerboard pattern is already here, it feels like it's trying to sell me too much. It's like when you look on the internet and somebody says something is totally 100% free. You're like, I don't know about you. You don't sound really free because you're sounding like you're trying to sell it too hard that you're free. So I avoid stuff like this. And so we'll look at this dog here, and I'll just take this dog, and we'll take this dog, and I'll just right click and open this image in a new tab. I like to sometimes open a new tab just to make sure that it's there. This is asking me to download it, which I don't really want to do. Sometimes when you do that there, I don't really feel comfortable. Let's see this one. Again, we'll go to open image new tab. And so this dog is a PNG, and he should have an alpha channel. And so we'll save this dog as, we'll call this dog with alpha. And I'm just going to save this on the desktop here. So we're just going to put this here in the desktop and save this here on the desktop. And so now here, I'm going to bring this dog in. So we're going to double click in here. We'll go to the desktop here. And I'm going to look for this picture dog with alpha. And we're going to import this in. Now, this alpha may already be labeled. If the alpha channel is unlabeled, it won't come in. But you'll see here it says millions of colors plus straight alpha. When I brought in my giraffe that I made in Photoshop, I didn't label what the alpha channel was. And honestly, I'll be 100% honest, I don't know how to label an alpha channel. I don't know how to tell it what alpha channel is using. But apparently there's a way to do it, and people on the internet have figured out how to do it. So this is millions of colors plus straight alpha. If someone is watching this video and they learn how to label the alpha channel, other than just doing quick export PNG, which I know sort of works, but this came in with this alpha channel. So now this dog will superimpose. Here he is. Now he's small. He's only 525 by 510, so he can, I don't know, ride on the giraffe's back or something. But that's some things we can do inside of here. So that's just an idea of the things we're working with. But now let's get into the ideas of how to make these compositions. So the unit of measure we're going to be working with, like in Premiere, we're working with a sequence, or like in Photoshop, we're working with an image. Inside of Adobe After Effects, what we're working with is something called a composition, or a comp for short. You'll hear about the word comp. People love saying comps. I made these comps before. I was doing this comp work. I was pre-comping, and it's great stuff. You're going to make a composition. So there's a couple different ways to make a composition. There's this button right here. This is new composition. There's this little button over here called new composition, create new composition. Personally, I like, under composition, new composition, I do like the shortcut Command N for new. I'd really like making a composition using the Command N new composition. That's a good one there. So I'm gonna hit Command N. Again, I'm on a Mac, so if you're on a PC, hit Control N. Command N and make a new composition. Now it's gonna ask you a whole bunch of questions about the composition you're gonna make. And we're going to call this, we're going to name this first comp here. We're going to call this first comp and make this simple comp here. Now it's going to ask you a whole bunch of questions about this comp, but we don't really need to worry about that as much. So it's going to ask you about the resolution, 1920 by 1080, that's HD, the pixel aspect ratio. Do you want to use square or anamorphic pixels? I don't even know what this means. I do know. The frame rate, the resolution, the start time code, the lock. There's a whole bunch of questions here. Here's my advice when making a composition. For starters, start with one of the presets. Here's the presets here. For example, we have the HD TV 1080-24 preset. That is high definition at 24 frames a second in a non-drop frame format. You'll see all these different frame rates there. There's UHD 4K, there's Cine on half, and Film 4K, all these different resolutions presets that are installed automatically with Adobe After Effects. So we're going to work with HD TV 1080-24. I really like this for doing the HD work that I do. So we're going to work in HD 1080, which is full HD at 24 frames a second. Kind of give it a filmish style. And the only other thing we care about is the duration. So we're going to use the HD TV 1080-24 preset. And we're going to use a duration of, let's say, 20 seconds for starters. So this is 0:00:20:00. So we're going to set 20 seconds here. Again, all of this is changeable later, so we don't even have to worry about this right now. We're just going to start with 20 seconds here. So now I made this composition. This composition is this black screen. I mean, it's a black screen. What do you want? Here it is. All its glory. It is a bunch of wonderful emptiness of space here, basically. Just basically a blank area to work with. So now we're going to bring stuff into here, and we're going to add stuff into this. Again, we're making a collage. We're making something cool, a fun, playful collage that we're going to have inside the screen here. It's going to be great. So let's take a look at what we're going to do here. So first things I can do is I can start to drag things into here. Now there's two ways about doing this. If I want to bring in New York City Aerial, I can grab New York City Aerial. I can just drag it over, and we'll drag the screen and fall right there and land in the screen. And now you'll see that when I hit play on the spacebar, I can play this, and we'll play this shot of New York City Aerial, this overhead helicopter shot of New York City flying by. And it plays this for 12 seconds here. It puts a layer down here in the timeline that says New York City Aerial, and puts this little bar there that displays how long this clip is. Now the comp is 20 seconds. The layer is only 12.5 seconds. 12 seconds, 12 frames, as we mentioned before, but it works. I'm going to click on this and delete this to show you some other things I can do. Again, I can bring in this, let's see, this dog with alpha here, and I can drag him in, and I can put him anywhere I want on the screen. I'll put him up in this top corner here, let him go, boom. And now this dog is 20 seconds. Why? Because he was a still picture, and because my comp is 20 seconds, he's going to be 20 seconds as well. He can be as long as I want with this comp here. So I can bring it in there. The other thing I can do is I can bring this down. So I can take this dog and I can bring him down here. When I bring him down, he automatically goes in the center. So he's automatically 100% in the center. So my advice is if you want something that you know you want something to be in the center, like New York City Aerial, if I wanted this just to be a background, right? I just wanted this to be a background here. I could grab this New York City Aerial and drag it down here, and then it just goes right in the center. So it automatically goes in there. If I want something to be in a specific place, just for, I don't know, expedience, I say, oh, I want this snowstorm title to be somewhere down here. I can grab the snowstorm title and bring it down here because I want it to be there. If I put it here, it's going to put it in the center, and then I'm just going to drag it down. And I'm going to move it down like there. I don't necessarily want that. I wanted it to be where I want it specifically, so it might be quicker for me to put it there. So I have the snowstorm title. Now, one of the other things that will happen here, look at this image a little bit closer, is I can drag things down here and I can play with something called the stacking order. And that's the order in which things go. So if I take the giraffe and I drag the giraffe in here in the screen and I put him right here, he's going to go on top of the snowstorm title, thereby hiding SNO, which is storm title, which is not cool. Now, can I fix that? Yes. I can go to the names down here. This is the stacking order. The names down here, I can click here and drag giraffe underneath this and put this in this order. And now it's snowstorm title on top of giraffe. So just change the order of these layers of paper basically here. But if I wanted this giraffe to be in the center, so I wanted him in the center, but I wanted him to be in the center below the snowstorm, it might be quicker for me to drag down. So theoretically, if there's a place in the screen I want to put something, I probably want to drag to the right. If there's a place in the stacking order that I want to layer something, I probably want to drag down, especially if I prefer to be in the center of the screen. So that's a little bit about the interface. Now we have this snowstorm title with this giraffe. Here we go, like so, playing inside of here. This is my basic collage building whatsoever. Now, if we look at this, there's some things we can see here. Right now we have the stacking order like this. I'm going to get rid of the snowstorm title here. We'll just get rid of that. We have this giraffe here. And if I click on the giraffe's name, you'll see that there's a kind of container box around the giraffe. And there's a little square here where I can change the color of this container box. Let's go to yellow so we can really see this. Here's this little yellow container box around here. Well, I can grab this by the corners and I can make this smaller. I can drag it smaller and drag this smaller to make a small giraffe. Now I can drag this free form, which means I can drag this wide, make a super long giraffe or super tall giraffe or however I want to make it, etc. But if I hold down shift while I'm dragging, so you click and drag first and then hold down shift, it'll make sure that it constrains the proportions. So it holds there. You just have to let go of the shift after and it will constrain. So you can always constrain, even if you make them wide, you can constrain and make them back to normal. And you have them there. But I can allow this to move this around. Now, right now, I can move this around. I can also click and drag and move him around the screen. So I can move him around the screen, and I can resize him by either grabbing here, or grabbing the corners, or grabbing the top. Or again, holding down shift and click, shift, constraining proportions. I can have this giraffe here, have him on the screen like this. And so he's there, right there. Now, this is this giraffe layer right here, this yellow layer right here. Again, it's going to play for the full 20 seconds. New York City Aerial will eventually end. I cannot make this any longer without changing the time speed of this, which we can talk about later. So I have this clip here. It is playing through, and it's just a giraffe over New York City. If I want to, I can take this giraffe. I can click on this giraffe. I can hit Command D or Edit Duplicate. And I can do Edit Duplicate and say, make another giraffe. And I can grab this other giraffe. Now I have two giraffes. Like this. And now these two giraffes are here in New York City, etc. I could actually grab this other giraffe and I could drag him from here, make him super skinny, and he'd be so skinny that he inverts. Backwards giraffe. Now I have two giraffes. There they are in New York City. Now they're kissing. Oh, isn't that adorable? Two giraffes kissing in New York City. Look at that. It's amazing. It's beautiful, really. There they are. How romantic. How romantic. I can make them bigger. I can drag this one, make this one bigger. Boom, big giraffe. There we go. Take this giraffe. Ah, this is even more romantic. Make sure you click on the other giraffe there. And make him bigger. Hold on shift and make this bigger there. And have the two, oh, look at them kissing there. And notice that this giraffe over here is on top of this other giraffe here because of the stacking order. If I wanted to change it to have, I don't know, have his lips over his lips or something, I could change these giraffes here over New York City like so, and I can move these around. So right now I can change the size of these, I can move these around. Other things I can do is I can make these longer or shorter. So I can take this right here if I go to the edge here, and I only want this to be as long as the 12 seconds of the comp. So I'll grab this giraffe, and I'll do the good old click on one, hold down shift, and click on the other one. Grab both these edges and drag it right to here. And so now this will end right there. And so now it's two giraffes there kissing. This will end the same exact time as the New York City Aerial ends. Or maybe I want this to be shorter. Maybe I only want this to be, maybe I want to drag it from here and have this be from 2 seconds to 5 seconds. And so from 2 seconds to 5 seconds, it's just the giraffes here. So now they just show up, bammo, they're here, and then they go away. Now, this is not you can do some little basic sequencing here. I could have this giraffe, and I could grab this other giraffe and put him after here. And then I could duplicate him again and have say duplicate this one, Command D, and duplicate this one, put this one up here, and have this one here. And you could kind of sort of build a sequence, but my advice is this gets difficult because, I mean, Premiere is really designed for putting clip after clip after clip. It's for building sequences. But some people will put clips in a row inside of After Effects. It's a way that some people will choose to edit. The challenge with this is that sometimes you get these layers upon layers upon layers. Then you have like 60 layers on top of each other, which just gets cumbersome. But it is a thing you can do. So you can make these, move these around, you can duplicate them, you can make them longer, shorter. You can even make New York City Aerial shorter. Actually drag this and make this shorter end here. What it does is it makes this little ghost line, so it has the main content, and then, like, this is the remnants, the outer shell of where this used to be. And so now it's going to end here. But it's going to tell you, you could actually grab the rest of the stuff and make more here. So now we have this, and we have this there, and it ends there. And so we have this. This is some of the building of things you can do. If you want to make something a certain length, like you want to make all three of these giraffes a certain length, you can go to, say, back to 0. And if you hold down Option key or the Alt key on a PC and hit the bracket key next to the P key there, Alt bracket, you can extend these back to the beginning. And so you could grab this to the end and then Alt other bracket, the end bracket, and extend this back to there. So Option bracket would be to extend or shorten clips. So if you wanted these all to end at 14 seconds, again, click on the first one, shift click on the last one, Option bracket ends at 14 seconds. Now that is the Option bracket function. The other function that you may have is the just hitting the brackets, and that would be just to move the clip. So if you want to take this 14, or let's choose a unit of measure that's easier to understand. Let's go here and say Option bracket here. This is 10 seconds, but you all want this to go from 5 to 15. You could just hit bracket. I'm just going to hit the bracket key, the end bracket key, and I'm going to move this over. So this is going to move the end point to here. Some other functions you can do, some other basic fundamentals that you can do. Again, if you want to move it back to 2 seconds, the first bracket. And now it's going to move this whole group to there. Or if you just want to click on one of these and have one of these start at 1 second, one of these start at 2 seconds, and then this one start at 3 seconds. Again, a bracket, 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 there. So the bracket keys will be to either move, the Option bracket keys will be to trim, basically trim longer or shorter. Or you can just click and drag, which totally works as well. So now we have this here, we have this laid out like so, and we have these organized here. I've been doing all the functions I've been doing right now with this tool up here called the selection tool. And the selection tool allows me to grab a clip, move it around, I can resize it, I can reposition it, I can change the stacking order so that these are in different stacking orders, and I can make these longer or shorter using any one of these keys like so. Click and delete, have this. So this allows me the functionality to do all this stuff with the selection tool. You will see some other tools next to here. You will see the hand tool. Some people get confused and think the hand tool is to move layers around, but I can, of course, move layers around with a selection tool. So if I have this clip here, the giraffe right here, I can move the giraffe with the selection tool. Well, what does the hand tool do? The hand tool moves the whole comp around. Well, why do I want to move the whole comp around? Well, a couple reasons. Well, sometimes I'm here, selection tool, and I'm going to be, my giraffe is over here somewhere, and I want to just go over to where the giraffe is, hand tool, and I can see it over here, or see the container box where it is there, and go back to selection tool. Now it'll say here in small letters next to selection tool, it's the selection tool V, and on all Adobe programs, Photoshop, Premiere, V is always selection tool. And then next to the selection tool is the H tool, the hand tool. And so I can use the hand tool to there. Or if I'm zoomed in super close, so H tool, we're going to move this back to here. If I'm zoomed in super close and I want to see something super close, like if I'm zoomed in here, I'm like, oh, where's my giraffe? I can hit the H key and then move over and see, oh, there's my giraffe in the corner. There's his nostril. And so I can see that there. Now, let's talk about zooming in and zooming out. So I do have the functionality of using the zoom tool, and that is the shortcut Z. So V for selection, H for hand, and then Z for zoom, and I can zoom in and zoom out on this area and zoom in here. And I can drag a little box around here and say, zoom in on the nose here, just show me the nose. And so it'll fit whatever can into the screen, etc. If I want to see this building, I can zoom in on this building, or I can just click and zoom in. Again, option click, you might be familiar with, is to zoom out, holding on the option or the alt key, Would zoom me in, zoom me out. Here's the truth though, I don't use the zoom tool a lot. Why? Because I've learned that I have the center wheel in the center of my mouse that allows me to roll forward and backward. And I kind of do this more often. I kind of zoom in and zoom out this way. You can almost hear it probably clicking back and forth. There it is. So I just zoom in this way, you know, just a little bit of this. And you'll find me doing that obnoxiously till somebody gets sick or something. So I'm jumping back and forth with my V to zoom in and zoom out. I'll do this mostly. There also is, just to be clear, there also is this little pull-down menu called the magnification ratio pop-up. It's a really involved name. That'll show me what size I'm at. So this is 100% size. This is full HD size. This is 50% size, etc. This is 25% size. So if you really wanted to choose a size, again, I'm just going to use the wheel and move in there like so. And so I just have that adjustment there. So again, V tool, H tool, and Z tool, and so you have those functions there. But I'm going to stick with the selection tool. The next tool we're going to go to, just one more here. I'm going to bring my giraffe back in the screen here. We'll make your giraffe a little bit smaller here. And this giraffe here, the other tool we're going to look at right here is going to be over here, the rotation tool. And the rotation tool is going to give me the shortcut W for rotate. Good old joke there. W will give me the rotation tool, and now I can rotate this giraffe around this axis point. And so now I have this control there to rotate the giraffe around like so and move him there. So I tend to find when I'm first learning to build something or first working on something artistic inside of After Effects, the things I'm doing is I'm using the V key to move around, I'm using the W key to rotate. So I'm jumping back and forth between V and W. I wish the keys were closer together, but they're not. But you'll learn to just move, rotate, move, rotate, move, rotate, etc. I tend to jump back and forth between those keys most definitely, just to kind of get what I want in terms of giraffe. So I can, again, enlarge with my selection tool. I can move around. I can have this inside here and have this there. So, for example, we're going to get rid of the giraffe because the giraffe is kind of silly. We're going to New York City aerial here, and we're just going to take New York City aerial. And I'm going to grab this snowstorm title. We'll take the snowstorm title. I want to put this in the, not in the middle of the screen, but just a little bit lower. I just feel like a little bit lower. We're going to take this and I'm going to open up the snowstorm title. I'm going to click and hold down shift, and I'm going to have snowstorm title. Now, the problem is right now it looks a little bit choppy. You'll see a lot of aliasing on the edge here, and that is the quality adjustment. So down here, there's a button here that says quality. Right now, it's set to automatic, which is coming in at half resolution. Let's go to full. There, it looks much nicer. And you see that it says snowstorm title. And so we have snowstorm title, kind of, I guess it's snowstorm title there. And so I'll just zoom out a little bit here. And so we have snowstorm title, which kind of is a little bit smaller. Again, I'm click and hold down shift so it maintains. I don't want it to be look like this or look like that or like this or like this. I just want to be, there we go, snowstorm title. Just that's good enough for me. It looks good on my screen, snowstorm title. It's in the middle of there. Pretty happy about that. If you are using the hand tool and you are moving stuff around and you want to reset, you're like, oh man, I can't tell where everything is and this is over here and it's small. You can actually go to the hand tool and double click it and we'll put everything back in the center at a relatively decent size. This is 50% size of its regular full size, but it's good enough for me. So now this says snowstorm title. So I'm going to go here onto the internet again, and rather than look for a dog, I'm going to look for a snowflake. So we'll forget about dogs and we'll look for a snowflake PNG. Yeah. I think a snowflake would be good in there. So let's find a snowflake that looks cool, that does have an alpha channel. Now this one doesn't have an alpha channel. Could I bring this into Adobe Photoshop and add an alpha channel? Probably could, but you know what? I'm impatient, and so let's see if I can find something that has a decent alpha channel. No. I can also go and double check and search. There's an opportunity there there's a search. Look for something with a transparent background. That is a thing I can do. That might help me. Let's see. See, it doesn't. I was hoping it was going to help me, but it really didn't. And again, I don't really trust things that already have the transparent background already. So I don't know if I want that. And there's also a thing I can do in tools. Tools, color, transparent. That should give me something that's transparent background. Let's grab this one. I'm pretty sure this one. Okay, this one has a alpha channel with a transparent background. I like it. It's a cool looking snowflake. Let's open this in a new tab. I sometimes like to open a new tab. Sometimes they want me to download something, but this just opened up into the screen, so this looks great. We're going to right-click Save Image As. We're going to put this on the desktop, call this Snowflake. I guess I could put with alpha, but whatever. Again, I'll go back in here to Adobe After Effects. I'm going to double-click, and I'm bringing this desktop, we're gonna look for here and we're gonna find snowflake. Let's see if this has already been labeled. There we go, look. It says millions of colors plus straight. I'm gonna bring this in here and put this snowflake here. Now this snowflake is gigantic, so we're gonna click on it, hold down shift and make this a little bit smaller. And put it here. Now the question we're gonna ask ourselves is, do we want this, hit the H key and move up here, do we want the snowflake to be falling in front of the snowstorm title or behind the snowstorm title? I don't know. What would be more magical? Let's try it. Let's take a look. Let's go to selection tool, V for selection tool. We're gonna go here and say, put it behind. Yeah, I kind of like that better. So I have the snowstorm title with the snowflake, and that's there, laid out like so, and it's here. Now, do we want to rotate this a little bit? We can hit the W key and rotate the snowflake. Let's see, is it better straight up or at an angle or some kind? Is there better positioning here? I don't know. We're gonna leave this alone. Now, I like this for now. We're kind of running late on time, so I want to kind of call this a day here. But I want to talk a little bit about cleanup and a little bit of things we can do. We're gonna play a little bit more with some animation next time we do this. But for now, we're just gonna stick with this and leave this here like so, and how this appreciate here. So right now we have this composition called first comp. We could call this snowstorm comp. And if you go here to this comp here, it's called first comp. You can go to this first comp here, and we can hit the return key next to the quotations key and rename this and call this snowstorm comp. So we're gonna call this snowstorm comp and have this be here like so. And so I have the snowstorm comp. And if I wanted to, I could make a folder. So I could go here, just a little folder button, or I could right click and new folder and call this all my comps, you know, because I'm super organized and I like having all my stuff in nice places. All my comps, I'm gonna put all my comps in there. That way I have a separate folder for my comps. If you really want to be organized, you can do this. Now, right now this project is untitled. It says Adobe After Effects 2022 untitled project, which means there's nothing. So we have an untitled project, nothing to go on from here. So let's save this project. File, save, good old Command S. We're gonna save this. We're gonna save this project. And so I'm gonna go here to save this project. I'm gonna save this project here I'm gonna make a folder here. We're gonna make a new folder. We're gonna call this After Effects 1, I guess, or yeah, After Effects 1, sure, cool. And we'll call this After Effects 1. We'll save this here on the desktop, After Effects 1. I'm gonna call this kind of first lesson. First lesson, and I'm gonna save this here as first lesson, like so, and we're gonna save this. This is gonna save as what's called an AEP, an After Effects project. So we save this here, and we save this there like so. So now it's called Desktop After Effects 1 First Lesson AEP. This is pretty much there. We've saved this as a project. I want to add one more thing in here, just for fun, just to make a point here. I'm gonna go here to the layer menu, and up here in the layer menu, I'm gonna click on the comp here. Make sure I'm clicking the comp. The layer menu kind of grays out if I'm not clicking the comp. It's kind of nothing to do here. But if I'm clicking the comp, you'll see the blue bar there around the comp. So here in the layer menu, I'm gonna go to new and go to new solid. And that shortcut is Command Y. We're gonna make new solids all the time. And what is a solid? Well, it's a box. It's just a simple box. We can make it whatever size we want to. So I'm gonna make a solid. By default, it makes a gray solid, which is a kind of boring color, I think. I mean, I guess it's kind of interesting and moody or whatever, but whatever. We're gonna click on this box, double click on this box, and go and change this to blue. And I'm just gonna choose the eyedropper there to blue and choose a solid blue box. Now, it makes by default, it makes a comp size blue solid. This is 1920 by 1080. I don't necessarily want it to be this big. I want it to be a little bit smaller. So we're gonna change the height to maybe 100. So it's gonna be the full length of the comp. This is 1920 wide, but it's also gonna be just small, just kind of a little line, a bar, if you will. We'll call this blue solid here. We're gonna say okay. And it actually makes a folder here called solids. It puts my blue bar there. And so I have this blue solid. It puts this blue solid here. I'm gonna put it right there, but I'm also gonna put it kind of behind the snowstorm and the snowflake. So I'm gonna change the stacking order, drag down, drag the name down to underneath snowflake, and so now it looks like there. I like that, it's kind of a cool look. Again, if you want a blue bar, congratulations. Composition or layer, new solid, Command Y, make yourself a bar. We're gonna make solids for all kinds of things here and there. And we're gonna make some other shapes as well, but for now, we're just made this blue solid here, like there. Now, I haven't saved this since then, so I'm gonna go to here, Adobe After Effects first lesson, and I'm going to hit Command S to resave this. The asterisk goes away, which means it does save. And I'm going to quit for a second. So I'm going to quit out of here and automatically quit because I want to talk about an idea. So I'm going to quit here. And I'm going to quit here, and I'm going to close Google Chrome, and I'm going to close Photoshop, which we don't need anymore. Oh, no, don't say this. And so we're here. And so now here, on my desktop in After Effects 1, is my first lesson here. And my first lesson here is this AEP. And now, for future reference, if I want to use my first lesson and I want to open up and start working again on my first lesson, I can just double click this and this will open up Adobe After Effects, which is wonderful. But I also have my external drive here. Now, my external drive had a bunch of stuff. Had the snowstorm title, had the New York City aerial, had some other giraffes and stuff. It had a bunch of stuff that I made here. So I'm going to eject this drive right now. I'm just going to pull this drive out and eject this drive in here. So now this drive is gone. But that's fine because I already have the first lesson. And the first lesson has everything I want in here, doesn't it? Well, here's a problem. When I double click this and I open this up, it's going to open up first lesson here. And it will open up Adobe After Effects inside of first lesson. And automatically it says, After Effects warning, 5 files are missing since you last saved this project. Oh my God, these files are missing. And I say, okay, what are you going to do? And all of a sudden I get this. And this is called the color bars of doom. And the color bars of doom look like this. It shows these color bar patterns that shows you where these files would be if these files were existed. So giraffe is gone, giraffe copy is gone, New York City aerial is gone, snowstorm is gone. Snowflake is actually still there. It's just covered over because snowstorm title doesn't even have an alpha channel because it's not there anymore. It doesn't even know what it's supposed to be. It doesn't even know there was an alpha channel, so it can't even see it. So all these things are gone. The blue solid is still there because the blue solid was made in After Effects. And theoretically, the dog is there. Why? Because I didn't delete the dog off the desktop. So here's the thing. If I have files and I move them, or I rename them, or I put them in a folder, or I move them around, and I do something with them, After Effects is going to get upset with you. It doesn't save the files with the project. It saves the files where they are. It just references those files in the project. So the project just knows where they are. So if you look in here, it's looking for these files here, missing Chad SSD, AFX class, L1 workflow, giraffe copy. This is where it's supposed to find this file. Well, it's not there anymore. So a couple things we can do. Well, first thing I can do, since I don't want to have to remake these all over again, is I can reinsert my SSD drive here and plug this back in. And when I plug this back in, let's see if it'll find the files automatically. 1 second. So I have plugged my SSD drive back in. It's going to load up here my SSD drive in a second. There it is, Chad SSD. And so now I plug this back in. Let's see if After Effects wakes up. So After Effects is not woken up yet, but what I could do here is I can go to these files and I can right click and say reload footage. And now here, if I just go to reload footage, just grab one of these. No, I do just grab one of them. Grab one of them, reload footage. It will say boom, and then it says, hey, by the way, while I was here, while I was looking around, I found 4 additional missing items have been found. After Effects, 4 additional missing items. Found them. Cool. Say okay, and boom, everything's back on again. But here's the thing. When you're working, what you want to learn to do is you want to learn a little bit of media management or asset management. So my advice is to do this. My advice is to take anything that you worked on here. For example, we're going to go to AFX class, lesson 1 workflow. And we're going to go here, we're going to grab giraffe copy. We're going to giraffe. We're going to grab in New York City aerial. And we're going to grab in USA map and all these things and snowstorm title and all these things we worked on. And I'm going to hit Command C, copy. I'm going to go to After Effects 1 folder, Command V, paste, and put them in here. Now, here's the truth. If the files are in the same folder as the AEP, so if they're in here, so for example, if I close at After Effects, quit After Effects, we're going to save this here, and I eject my drive again. Here's the truth. Right now, first lesson is looking for these files on my external drive. But my external drive is not connected, so it cannot find these files. But if it's in the same folder as the AEP, as the After Effects project, automatically, it doesn't care. it'll find them automatically there. So if you put all your stuff in the same folder, you can drag it to a different hard drive, drag it someplace else. It'll find the stuff automatically and update all the links and all the references to where it's supposed to be and where it is, like so. So a little bit of media management, that's there. And so you can put stuff in a folder, and then I can do the After Effects 1, I can put this into a different drive or put this on a Google Drive, whatever it may be, and it will all reference there from that, stuff like there. So again, this is basically scratching the surface. This is lesson 1 of how to use After Effects. This is just basically layering stuff. We haven't even gotten to animating. We haven't gotten to properties. We haven't added into effects. We're going to do a whole bunch of cool stuff as time goes on. But for now, this is just kind of operating the system and getting into some faults. There's some other shortcuts we can learn and some other tricks we can do. But for now, you remember that V was selection tool, W was the rotate tool, H was the hand tool, Z was the zoom tool, Command N was to make a new composition, Command D was to duplicate. Shortcuts are your friend. Command Y was to make a new solid. So you can make a new solid. Make sure you're on the comp and Command Y and bring up a new solid and make a new solid if you wanted to. This is your ground floor. This is the basic start of how this works and what we're going to do here. So we're going to save this. We're going to quit out of here and we're going to call it a day. All right, everybody, that's all we're going to do today for Adobe After Effects. I hope you had a good time. I hope you learned something, and make sure to get your hands on Adobe After Effects and play with it a little bit. You're not going to break it, so just enjoy it and see what you can make out of it for now. We're going to go on to some advanced lessons as we go forward, but for now, just have some fun and explore all the cool things that you can do. It's going to get better. Trust me, this was a basic, simple lesson, but we're going to do some amazing things as we go on. So enjoy, have a good day, and I'll see you in the next video.